So now let's go into chapter 5. So this chapter is going to begin to make the case for the differences between the Melchizedekian and Levitical priesthoods. Okay, the differences between the Aaronic Kohanim, the Aaronic high priest line, and Yeshua being high priest of Melchizedek. He says, and having been perfected, now what perfected him? Learning obedience. You guys are going to hate me, okay? Which is fine. But you're going to say, Rabbi, how come that rabbi guy, he always turns it back to the same thing? I'm just reading it to you. Wherever we go, it comes back to the same thing. We struggle with obedience. Because I've met many people, especially coming out of certain denominational factions, that have a really hard time with their pride of thinking that we were so smart. Okay? And you can know who some of those are. I do not need to name them off. But some of the sects of Christianity especially have a problem where they think they're smarter than all the other denominations. And they've already arrived in their thinking. And when I run into them, they are very dull of hearing. Very hard to share anything with them that does not line up with what they already think they know. Now, I don't think most of us have a problem discerning that murder, rape, obvious evil things. We don't have a problem with that. No, it's the subtleties where the obedience thing comes into play. We almost always, once we, look, we'll acknowledge that we've had former lives. So we're not talking about that life that you lived. But since coming to truth, to Torah, to Yeshua, to the way, into covenant, mostly we've gotten the obvious evil things handled. So what evil problems do you run into? The ones where your obedience becomes a problem. And so when he says that there was a need to have someone to teach them, this is why they were not mature, they were untrained and unpracticed in the discernment, is that there was not a whole lot of Melchizedekian instruction going on. Oh, there was a temple, there was a priesthood, and for the most part, everybody else was kind of let loose. A lot of people have this idea that there were rabbis walking around everywhere. Not necessarily so. There were teachers. Again, there were even people that don't like the term rabbi. You know what the term rabbi was? It wasn't even hardly even used in Yeshua's day. Look that up. You'll see in all the Jewish writings. The first time it was ever used was around the mid-first century, which is right around the time that Yeshua would have already been dead. But we desire the unadulterated milk. Funny thing is, it's like, the line from A Few Good Men where it says, well, you can't handle the truth. Because people will say, all I want is the truth. Well, that sounds real nice, and I applaud you. And I'm not doing that mockingly. I do applaud you for wanting the truth. Because I've had people have a conversation with me, and because a lot of you wonder, well, I wonder how many people rabbis brought to the truth. Probably not a whole lot in my conversations with people privately, because I don't share as much as you might think I would, because I don't like to argue with people. Because as a babe, you're still mostly flesh. Because you don't know what you don't know. We should make a shirt about that. That's kind of like, I don't know what I don't know yet. Whatever it is, you need to get to the point where you recognize that there may be still things in your life that you don't know that you don't know. That's a journey. That's a lifelong journey of figuring out that you don't know what you think you know. Recognize that you are still a babe, and you have to humble yourself to receive what I'm about to give you going forward. Because he's telling them this now before it gets really heavy. He's saying, don't be dull of hearing. Don't think you've figured it all out. I'm about to blow your head up with some stuff that you should know, but you're not going to understand if you don't have open ears and open eyes and aren't ready to receive. So it's not saying once you've heard the truth and been enlightened and then you reject it, you can't turn around and repent. Of course you can. But at some point you're going to become incapable of it. That's the person we're talking about here. The person that at some point will dull their hearing to the point where they will become incapable of repenting. Does that make more sense now? Are we getting clear here? I've got people who have depression issues and psycho-emotional issues where they're fragile, and I'm not picking on them at all, who struggle mightily that somehow they've blown it. Christianity always wanted you to think about you could blow it. Just do this or that or the other thing and you blew it. No, there's nothing you can do to blow it as long as you recognize that you're blowing it. You understand what I'm saying? You're messing it up and you can repent. As long as there's a breath in you and a thought in you to be sorry for what you did, you haven't blown it.